We're back at the Grassy Knoll for our second hour. You're listening to AM 1350 WBCF. Our guest for this second segment is William T. Still, author of a very revealing and informative book entitled New World Order, The Ancient Plan of Secret Societies. Bill also provided perhaps the best segment in the documentary Megiddo, The March to Armageddon, a film whose producer, Chris Pinto, has been to the Grassy Knoll on 2 occasions. Bill is joining us from somewhere on the road, and we welcome you, Bill, to the Grassy Knoll. Thanks for being with us.
No, thank you very much.
In the studio also with me is Gary Hattrick, a reporter for a local newspaper, the Zephyrhills News, and also a thought criminal who goes by the initials TC. Now, I've got to tell you, if I were on an island and had a choice of how many books I would have, you would be among one of them. It was a very comprehensive book you wrote. And you did that, was that all happening in the late 80s?
Yeah, I wrote it in the late 80s. It was actually published in August of 90.
Okay, and I have a host of questions for you. Let's start perhaps at the beginning, and well, maybe not the beginning, but
yeah,
Solomon's role in Freemasonry. Now, there's some legend about that with Hiram Abiff and such, but was Solomon involved perhaps in leaking, shall we say, the occult into the Judeo form of worship?
Boy, I mean, you just asked a question that's way over my head. I don't know. I really can't make the connection. I mean, Masons obviously try to tie themselves to many important figures throughout history, including George Washington, King Solomon, etc. But there's nothing in the Bible really about it, and so I really don't have anything to say on that topic.
With regard to I would say the false trinity of Osiris, Isis, and Horus. Do you feel that is something that is imitating, if you will, the Holy Trinity and used to perhaps blur the lines between both?
Well, that's typical behavior for both the secret society side and the Christian side. We both tend to set our holidays on each other's holidays to try to negate the effect. So it wouldn't be the first time. Obviously, the whole Osiris-Isis thing came long before the Christian Trinity, though.
That's correct. But could it not be true, though, that Satan had already been cast from heaven down to this domain? Could he have set up a situation that he knew was forthcoming to try to divert? Oh, yeah, absolutely. That makes perfect sense. Do you really believe that Sir Francis Bacon, and I wasn't sure about that in the book, do you really believe he was the beginner of the originator of Freemasonry? Oh, no, absolutely not. I mean, perhaps Masons. Well, I know that Masons attempt to claim that Freemasonry began, I believe, in 1777 in England, but that's as nonsensical as trying to blame all of the world's New World Order problems on the Illuminati, which basically began in 1776 in Germany. If you only go back that far to the mid to later 1700s, you miss the point entirely. You miss the religious connection. Does Freemasonry go back to the times of the Templars when they were guarding the pilgrims on their way down to the Holy City? No, it goes back way before that. It goes back to the dawn of recorded history. Certainly the Egyptians were practicing it, the Sumerians, so it goes all the way back. It's basically the essence of the Luciferian myth. How is it imported into Europe? I don't think you can really pin a certain event down and say thus and so was how it was imported into Europe. It perhaps spread with the Romans. Who knows? Okay. Perhaps if we could take this just a little different direction first, I think it would probably be instructive for the audience to know how I first stumbled onto all this stuff in the first place,
namely in the 1973 Nixon era, and then we can jump around.
Yeah, that is where the book begins, and by all means, if we want to do it in that order, that's fine with me. Can you explain how this all came about?
Well, in October of 1973, let me set the historical stage for you. This is right at the height of Watergate. You had the specter of President Nixon defying the Supreme Court to give up White House tapes. The country was certainly in a chaotic political situation, if not bordering on a tyrannical political situation. My father was approached by someone claiming to be affiliated with the Nixon White House and asked how he and his friends in the military would feel about a military takeover of the American government. And any military officer that wished to participate could virtually name his price. My dad was not a line officer. He was really a military scientist. He was the number two man in the Minuteman missile system, responsible for the defense communication system at that point. And his boss had recently ascended to be director of the National Security Agency. You just can't have a coup unless you have the NSA on your side. It's just impossible. Well, anyway, he was told there's virtually unlimited money behind the effort, and that any military officer that wished to participate could virtually name his price. So over the years, immediately he and I got on our horses and tried to make the two Watergate stars of the Washington Post, Woodward and Bernstein, aware of all this. But that just didn't fit into their scenario. They didn't want to see any type of a bigger conspiracy going on. They had their version of Watergate all figured out, and they really weren't very interested in talking to us about any of this. Seymour Hersh, however, was interested, and we spoke to him, although he wasn't really the one who eventually was the first to bring the story out in the press. That was a black reporter by the name of Carl Rowan, who then, writing in the now-defunct Washington Star, put it this way on October 26th of 73, quote, "Those who wonder about the president's emotional balance have now begun to suspect that even in the face of a vote to impeach, he might try as commander-in-chief to use the military forces to keep himself in power," close quote. Then Nixon's own Secretary of Defense, Jim Schlesinger, about a year after Nixon's resignation, in a story in the Washington Post on August 27th of 74, said that Nixon, quote, ordered the joint, or that he had, quote, ordered the Joint Chiefs of Staff to take special measures to keep a tight watch on the military chain of command to ensure that no extraordinary orders went out from the Nixon White House, close quote. So this is an extraordinary statement of extraordinary historical significance. That is, you have a Secretary of Defense informing the military chiefs not to allow the president to pull off a military coup. So over the years, other bits and pieces have dribbled out, but the whole connection that got me started on this was it was clear that Nixon was merely a pawn in the game, and that there was a bigger game going on, and that's how I eventually got into the whole New World Order thing.
Well, then how did it lead you to write the book? I mean, most of us, obviously, as we grew up, just knew the Masons as a group of guys going down the corner and bowling and drinking. You know, I mean, so how did you stumble on the fact that this is a lot bigger than we all expected?
Well, if you start reading anti-Masonic literature, and incidentally, there have been over 3,000 volumes of anti-Masonic literature published down throughout the years. The second most published on topic, second only to the Bible itself. If you start reading the literature, you can draw a thread between all of it. And even if you read Masonic historians themselves, that they believe that nationalism is bad, internationalism is good, and that if we can only, nationalism is the cause of wars and strife and spending, and if we can only eliminate this nasty old concept of nationalism and replace it, there's this wonderful new Star Trek-like concept of internationalism, then peace and harmony will reign. We can put all of our resources towards going out and exploring the stars, essentially. That's the essence of the whole Star Trek phenomenon in the first place. The only problem is, what makes the world free? What allows us to continue to be free? My contention is, it's this nasty old outdated concept called nationalism. what makes America free? The essence of it, people will tell you, well, it's the Constitution. Then you ask them a little deeper, and you say, well, but what is it about the Constitution that makes America free, that makes it the greatest experiment in the history of government? And when you get down to it, it is the separation of powers concept. And anybody who's taken government will, nod their heads, oh, yeah, that's right, it's the separation of powers concept. And what is that? That's where a bunch of different competing power centers within the American government compete for power and do not allow one particular individual or group of individuals to take control. And that's exactly what saved us during the Nixon era, and it's what has saved us time and time again. Well, what is the separation of powers concept on the international scale? What is analogous? What keeps the world free? And I contend that it's a terrible thing to say, but I believe it's true from my heart, and that is, it's only this concept of nationalism, where nation-states can go to war with one another, that keeps us free. And once that concept of nationalism, the concept of nation-states and their war-making capability is eliminated, then nothing can proceed but an ironclad world dictatorship. Why? Just as Lord Acton put it in his axiom, absolute power tends to corrupt absolutely.
We're with author William T. Still, his book, New World Order, The Ancient Plane of Secret Societies. This is the Grassy Knoll on AM 1350 WDCF. We'll rejoin him after these messages.
Say goodbye to all my sorrow, and by tomorrow I'll be on my way. I guess the Lord must be in New York City. I'm so tired of getting nowhere, seeing my prayers gone unanswered. I guess the Lord must be in New York City. Well, here I am, Lord, knocking at your back door. Ain't it wonderful to be where I've always...
You're listening to the Grassy Knoll. Food for thought.
Back at the Grassy Knoll on AM 1350 WDCF, we are with William T. Still, author of New World Order, The Ancient Plane of Secret Societies. And Bill, can you tell people how they might find out more about that book, or how they can order it?
Well, yeah, you can get it through Amazon. You can get it ordered through any bookstore. It's widely available. It's sold almost 250,000 copies. It's still number 16,000 all time on Amazon. So it's ahead of all of Henry Kissinger's books except for one.
Good for you.
Just let me finish my point, if I could.
Go ahead, do it.
Okay, so nationalism, in my opinion, good. Globalism or consolidation of power at the international level, bad. So, Masons are the ultimate expression of this internationalism, of the consolidation of power at the international level. So that's basically how I got into it. Okay, a practical example of this was seen last night during the debates, when you had the specter of Mr. Kerry getting up and saying that he now wished to provide nuclear fuel to Iran, just like Bill Clinton provided nuclear fuel to Korea. And you have to wonder, Madeleine Albright has already said, oh, gosh, we made such a terrible mistake. We gave nuclear fuel to the Koreans, and what do you know? They went and built a bomb with it. Well, what do you think the Iranians are going to do with it? How do you think that's going to sit with the Israelis? So then you have to wonder, what is wrong with these guys? Are they just stupid? Are they ill-advised? No. I think they want to take America down, and that's what the essence of it is. Why? Because America is the shining light of freedom in the world, the absolute antithesis, especially in the case of President Bush, the absolute antithesis of this globalist or internationalist conspiracy.
Well, you get no argument here because we believe the same thing, that what is happening with this forced immigration and other things, like the president's giving away the keys to the kingdom and such, is to kneecap the United States so it can go meekly into a one-world government. And, Bill, I mean, they make the one-world government sound so great, but you have to, if you had a poison apple, you have to make it look good for someone to bite into it.
Well, absolutely, and it's going to become more and more popular as time goes on. I mean, we are basically nationalist dinosaurs, and we are going to eventually lose out, and the internationalists are going to win. But, I mean, there's just no way around it. Unless you have a perfect individual at the head of this ultimate consolidation of power internationally, then, by definition, the guy will become absolutely corrupt. And so you're going to have nothing. And then it dovetails right into the whole biblical prophecy, basically, of the oncoming reign of the Antichrist. So, and so then people will say, well, gee, you're just preventing this. Well, what else can I do? I mean, you've got to be the watchman on the wall.
Mr. Still, this is Gary Hattrick. I'm from the Zephyr Hills News.
Yeah.
Last night during the debate, you were mentioning the debates there. In some ways, Bush was talking a good nationalism in some way, but you don't really think he believes that, do you?
Yeah, I do.
You do think he believes in nationalism?
Yeah.
So you don't see him...
He is the president who's come out the strongest in my lifetime, and I'm 56 years old, the strongest in my lifetime against the United Nations.
He has done that. But you don't see him as maybe the other side of the same coin in some things? I mean, I look at politics and I see people doing... Now, I'm a Republican. Okay, and I've been very staunch in the past, but I've become very discouraged over the last several years. I agree with the things you're writing in your book, but I often see that the Republicans and Democrats seem to be accomplishing the same things when they're in office.
Yeah, and that's because the forces of internationalism and thereby anti-Americanism are very clever. I mean, if you're going to, for example, with the Masons, if you're going to have basically a Luciferan secret society dedicated to taking humanity down, you can't just go out on the street corner and say, hey, I got this evil secret society, I want you all to come and join up. Well, you're not going to get very many members. You got to fake them out.
No,
and so the way you fake them out on this internationalist deal is you go with the Star Trek line. And it's right at the core of every Star Trek that's ever been produced, and that is nationalism is evil. It uses all of our resources. It causes wars. If we only, once we eliminate nationalism and have nice internationalists, then we can go out and explore the stars. And that's the way they sell it. The whole George Bush's daddy, 1,000 Points of Light. That guy, I dislike that guy intensely. But I think W is a true Christian guy and trying to do his best. Whether he understands everything about everything, I don't know. He hasn't called me lately.
I tend to feel as though the apple hasn't fallen far from the tree in that situation. I as a born-again Christian myself, I feel as though born-again Christians are being taken in by George Bush.
Wow. Give me an example.
Well, I think he talks a good talk, but like I say, the things he does are not all that different than other presidents have done.
Give me an example.
I'll give you one.
Okay.
I do have a little problem with him being involved, third generation, with Skull and Bones.
Yes.
Yeah, but you know what my answer to that is? That's when he was a kid, and didn't we all do some bad things when we were a kid? And thereafter he became born again.
Okay, I mean, believe me, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, so I have no real concern either way. But I have not heard him renounce it when he was asked straight up, and so is Kerry. So let's face it.
It would be definitely the poison pill to renounce it. I think, as far as from a political, you got to make compromises. I would say is how he approaches these things. And I don't take a drastic conspiracy type of line. I just want to make this clear from the start. Everything I've ever written always gives a hopeful message that we can prevail. And if you go to the root of it religiously, from a Christian perspective, that is, as long as the Holy Spirit is present here on earth, we are going to be able to successfully oppose this thing. And it's only once the Holy Spirit is withdrawn that we're not going to be able to do that anymore. So thereby, somehow or another, we've got to be able to oppose this. And, the bad guys, the bad team, has all the money they want. They've got these dark, evil secret societies who have been plotting for this internationalist deal for thousands of years, literally, and they still can't succeed. And who are our forces? We're all broke. And yet somehow we're able to successfully oppose these guys. And it's merely the working of the Holy Spirit. And so, after 8 years of Clinton, I mean, we've got to have somebody who's at least halfway well motivated, or else we're down the tubes right away.
Gary, go ahead.
I agree. I mean, ultimately, it's because of Jesus Christ. It's because of the power of God that we're going to prevail. It's not because we're not going to prevail politically. We are never going to prevail politically. It's going to be a spiritual battle that Jesus Christ is going to win himself. And yes, we oppose it. But I look at George Bush and I see what you were describing. You don't come saying, I'm the devil and I'm about to drag you down to hell. You get people on your side by drawing them into thinking that you're doing the right thing. I hear.
But you know what? During the debate, you don't get up on national TV and say, I'm a believer in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, which he did, and he's the only politician who's ever done that in my lifetime.
Well, and I hear that, but when I look at the behavior sometimes, I just don't see that.
Like what?
I look at the presidency and I say there are so many compromises to be made. For instance, you say, well, you wouldn't say I renounce this on TV. I say if you're a born again Christian, you would say I renounce this on TV, because if God wants you to be president, you'll be president whether you renounce that or not. That's what's going to happen, and you tell the truth. You tell the truth no matter what. And that would be say, the skull and crossbones things, I'm gone from it because it's bad. And it doesn't matter what political fallout is going to come from that if you're following God.
Hey, I can't argue with that, but I've never been that high up at the top, and all I can do is hypothesize. We're just guessing, And from every indication I can see, I think the guy's a true Christian, at least as best as can be had at that level of the political structure.
All right. What I want to do, Bill, when we come back on the other side of the break, I'd like to talk about the one world government and how war is very necessary to bring that about. Maybe we can look back at, if you don't mind, the Pike-Mazzini situation and that famous letter. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
All right. We'll rejoin William T. Still after these messages. This is the Grassy Knoll on AM 1350 WDCF.
Grassy Knoll. All the trouble you've ever been looking for.
We're back in the Grassy Knoll with William T. Still, author of The New World Order, The Ancient Plan of Secret Societies. And Bill, if I could, the Mazzini-Pike letter, the whole idea of war bringing about a one world government.
That's great.
After World War I, we got the League of Nations, correct?
Right. Well, let me just tell about the letter, first of all.
Oh, sure.
This was a letter written in 1871 by the head of European Freemasonry, a guy by the name Mazzini, who wrote a letter to Albert Pike, who is head of American Freemasonry, a Confederate Civil War general whose statue still remains in Washington, D.C., just about 3 blocks north of the Capitol. And if you've seen that video, you probably saw me in front of it.
Yep.
But in any case, Mazzini, in this very interesting letter, and I've been talking about this for now. Where are we? We're 04, so I've been talking about this for 14 years, way before this last one ever started to reach fruition. In any case, it said that Mazzini said to Pike, the only way we're going to get these people, these crazy human beings, to give up their cherished concept of nationalism is to create a series of 3 world wars. The first world war will be to topple the Tsar in Russia, where we can experiment with dictatorships, and of course that's exactly what they did. And of course it fell for a while, but look at it now. Essentially, you have the same thing, the same dictatorship back in Russia. Then they'll need a second world war, which allow this new Soviet Union to conquer Europe. Well, hey, guess what? Their plan didn't quite succeed, thanks to a guy by the name of General Patton. So they only got half of Europe, and if it would have been up to Patton, Patton would have rammed the Russians right back to the Russian border, and they wouldn't even have gotten East Berlin. So anyway, then they'll need a third and final world war, which will be in the Middle East, involving the Muslims, and will be so bloody that mankind will finally give in to their new world order concept. And, you just see that coming together now so perfectly. The Bible says that there's going to be a 200 million man army march from China and ally themselves with the Muslims, and then they're going to march on Armageddon, and that's going to be how that all takes place. And you can just see that coming together right now.
Mm-hmm. Do you believe that this one world movement is the prophesied satanic rule?
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's Luciferian in its nature because it's deceptive, because they try to tell people that this is how we're going to eliminate warfare and create an Atlantis here on Earth. That's Bacon's New Atlantis, right, and that whole thing.
Yeah. Are you familiar with an author by the name of Eric John Phelps, Vatican Assassins?
No.
All right. No, he alluded to that letter, and I had asked him when he was on our show if he had ever seen it. He said no. But you kind of cleared that up when you were on the documentary Megiddo. That letter has been seen. It was.
Oh yeah, it was on display in the British Museum for a number of years, and then in the 80s it just suddenly disappeared.
Pike is an interesting character for sure, and you mentioned that he more or less with Mazzini formed an amalgam of Freemasonry. Did that do much to really solidify it for the 19th and 20th centuries?
For the 19th and 20th centuries. Well, keep in mind that it's never really been solidified. Okay. I mean, once again, I don't think that the world has gone to hell in a handbasket. I think we're always going to be able to. In fact, I almost entitled the book Timeless Struggle, because I see this as just an equal but opposite thing down through history. Sometimes they'll get a little bit closer to their goal, and then we'll scurry around and somehow we'll batter them down again. So I think it's always been, they've been just about equally inept throughout history. I mean, the League of Nations failed. The United Nations is a joke. They're just going to have this war with the Muslims before they get what they want.
Well, as I was saying, and you digress for a second, that's not a problem, but I was saying that, we had World War I and the League of Nations. We had World War II, and they begat the United Nations. That Third World War, do you see that as more or less cementing for whatever time it may last, a one-world government movement that the other two organizations have tried to lead to?
Oh, yeah, right. That's the 3.5 years of the reign of the Antichrist or whatever.
And I'm going to ask you this just for my own sake, because I'm trying to figure this out. I'm thinking to myself, if the satanic reign comes in, it is, I would think, akin to the Great Tribulation.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Christians are going to have a bad time of it.
And if that is so, I think the good news is it can only last 7 years. And then Christ will come again and put an end to that. Is
it 7 or is it 3.5? Doesn't he come to power halfway through? I'm slipping up on my Bible right now.
It all depends on your view of the end times. Some people believe that the tribulation is only 3.5 years. Others believe it's 7, and 3.5 aren't really tribulation. They're just bad times before the actual tribulation starts.
Yeah.
Or what about 7 years? Other tribulation, some are hoping that halfway through there's a taking away.
Right. Well, in any case, it doesn't really matter. It's going to go by pretty fast.
Absolutely. But, you made a good point, and you really did straighten me up when we talked the other day, and you said, Satan can't make that famous last move, so to speak, until the Holy Spirit the restrainer is taken away.
Right.
And I had lost sight of that, so I thank you for more or less bringing me back down to earth in a spiritual manner.
Yeah, well, see, otherwise people get this hopeless condition that, they've already got us under their control and yada, yada, yada. It's just not the case. Throughout history, when you study this thing, a single person, can rise up and make this huge dent in their plan, even though they've got all this money and all this stuff. I mean, the whole anti-Masonic movement of the 1840s crushed Freemasonry in the United States.
Talking about the Morals and Dogma, you asked me if I had read the whole thing, and of course I didn't. Have you read the whole thing?
Yes, I think I've read the whole thing. It is tedious.
Oh, and it's such a warm and fuzzy book, though, Bill. I opened up the cover. Get this now.
I think it took me to about page 850 to finally find the reference to Luciferism.
And is that the block quote that you incorporate into the book?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, when I got this book through interlibrary loan, since my university didn't have it, we got it from, I think, Limestone College in South Carolina. But I opened the thing up, and there's Pike on the left-hand side and all his girth. But on the right-hand side, there's this warning. It says, esoteric book for Scottish Rite use only, to be returned upon withdrawal or death of recipient.
Oh, absolutely. And the only reason I got my first copy was my grandfather passed away, and I got there before the Masons did.
Well, two things, and this one first. Were you in Masonry for a while?
No, I wasn't. When I turned 21, my mom is high up in Eastern Star. She's state treasurer for Virginia and all that stuff. And when I turned 21, I was expected to go down to the Grand High Wizard and plop down my $100, and he was going to teach me personally. And so I went down there, and I'd heard, I was just kind of like a pubescent Christian at that point, and I'd heard that you had to swear to kill somebody to get in this outfit. And so I asked the guy, and I knew the guy, he was a Buick dealer, and I said, is this true? Do you have to swear to kill somebody, or to get in this organization? And he said, no, that's just old superstition. I could tell the guy was lying. And so I took the application, I walked away, and said, well, I'll think about it. I went around, I knew some other Masons, because, you know them, and I asked them the same thing, and I could tell they were lying, too, and so I just never did anything with it.
If we could, and I think this is very critical for this time, because I'm seeing this happen, let me ask you perfunctorily, are you at all sensing that there is a resurgence of the Kabbalah?
Don't know enough about it. Don't care.
Okay, I'll tell you why. One, it is becoming very popular, especially with the Hollywood types, but also...
Oh, that's what Madonna was talking
there
about.
There you go.
She went to Israel, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and but I tell you what, at this time, they're all coming out of the woodwork, Bill. We're headed for something. But the reason I'm saying that is this. They always play around, as Freemasonry did, with a very deceptive concept, and that's a concept of light. Do you want to expatiate on Pike's usage of Luciferian light and the kind of walking the line between Christianity and Freemasonry?
Well, it's not really walking the line. Once again, it's just deception, and they're saying basically that that the light of it is that nationalism and wars are bad, and internationalism is good, and that's the light, and that's George Bush Sr.'s 10,000 points of light, and the whole thing. What about the deceptiveness, though, to those who are trying really to find some kind of spiritual satisfaction? Can you see where that's a little deceptive, playing on that concept or motif of light as being obviously illuminated? Well, yeah, and they use the sun also, the not S-O-N, but the S-U-N. They'll try to use any form of light that's not the light of your life and my life that they can use. An example of this would be, if I can just read this one graph from Morals and Dogma, page 321. It says, the apocalypse is, to those who receive the 19th degree, the apotheosis of that sublime faith which aspires to God alone, and despises all the pomps and works of Lucifer. Lucifer, the light-bearer, strange and mysterious name to give to the spirit of darkness. Lucifer, the son of the morning. It is he who bears the light, and with its splendors intolerable blinds feeble and selfish souls. That to me came out, and I was thinking that Pike was trying to work that motif to bring you out from
Christ being the light, the morning star. To
oh yeah, they'll never mention Christ, except as they try to paint Christ as being Satan, and that Lucifer is really the bearer of light. So I mean, it's just a reverse thing. You know, let me. People wonder why Masonry is so bad. I mean, the oath to the 32nd degree is, well, my brothers. You know, they like to use God a lot. In fact, the G of Masonry, some will say stands for God. Of course, others will say it stands for Gnosticism with a G. But they never mention Christ in a positive light. And you know, their very symbol is the open Bible with the Masonic square and compass sitting atop it. Okay, well, what is symbolism? Well, what is the symbolic meaning of that? Well, in America, we are biblically based, but Freemasonry is an improvement. It sits atop the open Bible.
I was wondering, I thought the G stood for geometry. But
You'll hear God, geometry, Gnosticism.
Also, Bill, if I could, on page 11 it talks about, in Morals and Dogma, the Holy Bible, square and compasses are not only styled the great lights of Masonry, but they are also technically called the furniture of the lodge. And also, Pike goes on to say that the Bible's at home in a Christian lodge, but so is the Koran in a Muhammad lodge, and there, you know, and so forth and so on.
Yeah.
So the whole idea about really, and as you brought out in the book, trying to hoodwink people by saying Christ is really the master of our lodge.
Yeah, he's the master of our lodge, but don't bother reading the Bible too close about what he says.
Exactly. Oh, no, without a doubt.
And, you know, what I was saying about the 32nd degree is that by the time you get to that level, they'll say, the opening lectures, my brothers, by now you realize that there is no God.
Exactly. William T. Still, author of New World Order, The Ancient Plan of Secret Societies, will be back after these words.
Grassy Knoll on WDCF.
We're back in the Grassy Knoll on AM 1350 WDCF. We are with the author, William T. Still. He has written really a very, very information-packed book called The New World Order, Ancient Plan of Secret Societies. And, Bill, how can they get that book?
Amazon.com or any bookstore they can order it. It's was published by Huntington House. Now they've changed the name, and to tell you the truth, I don't remember the name. But it's easy to find.
Did you have any trouble getting that book published?
Oh, yeah, sure. I had a lot of trouble. Finally, it was just a very small Christian publisher in Louisiana. It became one of their biggest selling books of all time.
Quick sidebar question. We'll get back to your work, and that is, are you familiar with Bob Rosio at all? Who's also been published with Huntington House? Okay, I sat underneath him in a congregation out in Cheswick, Pennsylvania, and he also has some books out there also under Huntington, so I was just curious. This bit about, Satan and Lucifer, the words are bandied about quite a bit. What is the distinction between both names?
Oh, my God. Well, Satan is evil. Lucifer is the great fake. He tries to say that he's the father of light, and light is something that we all should seek, when in fact it's It's not. It's just one and the same.
He is the bearer of knowledge, the mover towards growing civilization.
Right, and here's exactly what they mean by growing civilization. Right out of Morals and Dogma, page 43, calls for, quote, the great revolution prepared for by the ages, which will usher in the universal social republic. They also refer to it as the new Atlantis, the World Confederation, all this stuff. It's just the same thing over and over and over again, just with slightly different twists. And if I could just hammer home one little point here, and that's for those who are out there who are thinking, oh, well, my Uncle Charlie, he's a Mason, he's not a bad guy. Well, let's just read what Masons have to say, and you can use your Holy Spirit to try to figure out what it means. And that's in 1959, the lead journal of the Masonic Order, interestingly entitled New Age, published an article stating that Freemasonry had, quote, provided the major obstacle to the growth of religious-oriented education in America. That's New Age, January 1959, page 10. Then from another New Age, in February of 1968, on page 17, that Masonically endorsed higher criticism of the Bible had, quote, made obsolete the idea that the Bible is a unique revelation of supernatural truth, close quote. And for those who think that, the lower orders of Freemasonry aren't too bad, Uncle Charlie's just a 13th degree Mason. Well, this is why Freemasonry is so destructive, no matter where you are on the scale, from 3rd degree to 32nd degree. And that is, the Royal Arch degrees are definitely destructive to local governments. In the 33-step Scottish Rite system, for example, the Royal Arch degree is the 13th degree. In the York system, it's the 7th degree. This is the levels which Masons try to get judges, county sheriffs, district attorneys, anybody in the judicial system ascended to. Why? Because at this level, Masons must swear under horrible blood oaths to help extricate a brother Mason from any legal trouble, including murder or treason. I ran a newspaper in Northern Virginia for a number of years before I knew all this stuff, but I could see it. I could see at some place, there was a place where Democrats and Republicans high up in the county system met and agreed on stuff and would protect each other. And, of course, now I know what that is. I used to call it the good old boy system, but now I know it's just Masonry. That's all for right now.
Okay.
Ask a question.
Well, what I want to do also is tell people that who are listening, and this does occur, that I have a pretty well-structured diagram called Emblematic Structure of Freemasonry. And if they're interested in it, by all means, send me an email at Vyzygoth@hotmail.com, VYZYGOTH. And as Bill's talking about, we have the two forms of Freemasonry, the York and the Scottish Rite. And is there a certain degree of Christianity that differs one from the other?
No, they're just different in their disguises. The 33-step Scottish Rite system. These are the people who end up have the charities and all that. The York Rite, they claim to be more Christian in their demeanor, but it's just more of a deception. The whole York Rite system is basically strictly designed to take good Christian guys and slowly, through these series of Masonic steps, wean them away from Christianity into this Luciferian type of concept.
As our time is running out, what we've not touched upon, something that was interesting and that you enlightened for me, and that is the Illuminati, which I think, agree was begun by Vyzygoth.
Yeah.
And got legs in 1776.
Yeah.
There was a melding, was there not, between the Illuminati and Freemasonry?
I see the Illuminati as springing as just what we call a super Masonic organization. For example, another example are the Mormons. The Mormons are nothing but a super Masonic organization. The whole 12 elders of Mormonism were all Masons, and there's this fashion that you see in French Freemasonry. They're like 150 degrees, and after you get up to a certain degree, then they all go, well, what are we going to do next? Well, let's form a super Masonic organization. Let's call it the Illuminati. But the basic goals are just the same, so I don't see them melding. It's just a super Masonic organization.
Some historians have posited that Freemasonry really wasn't all that a cult, but was tainted in Europe by Weishaupt's Illuminati. How do you feel about that?
Wrong. Error.
Okay.
It's Lucifer from the core. How do we fake people out?
And, of course, the one thing they were going to do, weren't they, and that was try to tell everybody that Christ was the center of the Masonic Lodge.
Wrong. Absolutely not. The whole thing is just an attack on Christ. Nothing but.
All right. Moving along to World War II. I have to tell you, I have some photos that I run across every so often that show Harry Truman at the conference. What was it? I believe it was Yalta at that time. Yeah, with Stalin and Churchill. And I mean, here he is, handshaking both of them with his arms crossed around him, with the extended index finger. Can we assume that Harry and Churchill and perhaps Stalin might have been in...
Roosevelt, Churchill, Stalin, and Truman. I think, and in fact, in the book, I reproduce a photo of Truman in full Masonic regalia.
Right, I saw that, without a doubt. I've also been saving photos of some dignitaries when they meet each other with... Am I right? It's the extended index finger and the handshake?
Oh, there's all different kinds. I first got the handshake. It was... the middle finger was bent over, and it's very... You can't see it, but you can feel it when you receive it.
What I want to touch upon before we go also, and I'm just looking over my notes, like I said, I had a million questions to ask you. FDR, heavy-duty Freemason, true?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I have absolutely no positive regard for FDR, despite what my parents might think that he saved the Union or whatever, saved the country and all that. It's just a bunch of nonsense. The country was brought to its knees by the Federal Reserve withdrawing money out of the system until the socialist Roosevelt could become elected.
Yeah, I don't blame presidents. The way we feel here is we don't blame presidents. We feel they've been handled for quite some time, and that FDR was there to do a certain job, just like Wilson was before him and such. Do you see, during Roosevelt's presidency, a movement towards the socializations, as in socialism, of the United States?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't have the details. The details are in the book, and forgive my memory for forgetting all that stuff, basically. But absolutely, Roosevelt attempted to socialize the United States, attempted to bring about the United Nations, just as Wilson, who is actually a relative of mine, tried to bring about the first attempt with the League of Nations. And
also, he was on board when they got through the Federal Reserve Act and also the income tax.
Right.
Okay. According to, have you ever heard of Fletcher Prouty?
Oh, yeah.
According to him, it was very interesting in one of a lecture that was on the net there for a while.
He was a big JFK guy, right? A big JFK assassination guy.
He was one, I guess you could say he was a technical advisor to Stone's JFK.
Uh-huh.
But he recounted, because he did fly certain dignitaries, I think Chiang Kai-shek, into that conference at Yalta.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and what he had said, and it was fascinating, he said that he had talked to Elliot Roosevelt, and I think it was that he was concerned why the United States would not let Stalin or Gromyko, his dignitary more or less, go to Roosevelt's funeral. His wife had forbid it. And so Elliot, in conversation with Prouty, told Prouty that when he got together with Stalin, and talking about this snub, more or less, Stalin told Elliot that your father was killed by Churchill's gang. So what I'm wondering also is, was not Churchill also in the program?
Yeah, but, once again, it seems like to a lesser degree. I'm not sure where I come down on that. That's like asking me, do I think that W is a totally bad guy? And, obviously I don't.
All right, we're going to come down to our last minute or so. So, again, Bill, please, will you tell people how they can order that book? And it is an excellent work.
Amazon.com or any bookstore you can order it. New World Order, The Ancient Plan of Secret Societies.
Are you planning anything else in the future, by the way?
No. I'm actually, this is the first interview I've done on this book in quite some time.
Well, I'm surprised about that. Also, Chris Pinto really holds you in high esteem for the contribution you made to that documentary, and I agree. That was very eye-opening in the segments that were attributed to you.
Well, he's a good guy and really trying to do a difficult job.
Yeah, he's got a couple of more segments coming out of that, and I told you that his wife and he gave birth to a girl.
Yeah. Well, God bless them.
Okay. Well, listen, also, he is the one who got me the contact number for you, and I'm glad he did. And, Bill, I thank you for coming on the show. An hour's not worth it, but it was spirited without a doubt. And hopefully sometime in the future, would you come back on again?
Oh, anytime. I loved it.
All right. Have a safe trip and safe passage back to home as you're out there in the Shenandoah Valley.
Okay.
God bless you. Good night.
Bye-bye.